Good morning, everyone. I hope everyone can hear me okay and see me fine. If you are in the chat, let us know, and we would be happy to have you back. Sorry for the long pause in between. We had lots of things to do, and we had lots of support for BESA program. In reInvent, we were able to gather a lot of people who would be coming up as a guest. So we're all excited to have you all here. Let us know if you are in chat. Let us know by saying something, hello, hi, and we will get started from there. All right, good. Thank you. Yeah, it's been long time. Yeah, long time. Yeah, we were waiting for this session to be happening soon, but obviously there was some commitment. And let me add my colleagues here. So we have Michelle, Prasad, Jamila helping us, and little bit more of good vibes to Prasad because he's struggling with cold after reinvent. Probably he has eaten a lot of ice cream in Vegas. So let's see. All right, so good. We will get started and keep your questions coming. We would like to answer as many questions as we have. And if you have any suggestion to be included into the next topics, we are all ears. Obviously, we have our own way of thinking, but if you feel there is something which can help you, let us know and we would be happy to help you in that cases. And if you need one-to-one coaching, mentoring, reach out to us. We may not reply to everyone's message, but we are trying to reply to most of you. And if we just forgot, give us another nudge and we would be happy to uh, have a one-to-one session with you. Yeah, Prasad did a Route 53 trip and maybe he went to the longest latency spot. That's why he's suffering. He should go for shortest spot, isn't it?
Yeah, actually, someone told us, like the other way, the skywalk is not that great. You should go to the other way, and
Others way
yeah,
around. Yeah, yeah,
yeah.
exactly,
So we
exactly.
drove there. It was a good experience, but that's the price you pay, right?
Yeah, yeah, yeah. We agree on that. Yeah, and it's been like a long, daunting week to be honest. In a reinvent, it was not like fun in the sense meeting people, learning new thing. It was fun, but for like a physical exertion, it was a much. It was a lot of things. So I'll not take much of your time. I'll let Jamila take over, and she would help us today with demo. Hey, Jamila, and we will then get started. And feel free to ask your questions. We are monitoring chat, and we would answer question as much as we can. Thank you.
Thank you very much. Thank you, Ashish. I don't know, like you spot me on unexpectedly. Shall we start maybe with reinvent updates with Michelle, yourself, and Prasad? Ashish, are you there?
I get your point. Yeah, means I need my coffee, isn't it? So let me start little bit of change of gears. We will start with Michelle. Michelle would help us with understanding how the reinvent went in. Prasad has already contributed multiple times there, so he would also pitch in and share his experience. So I'll add Prasad also. Let me know when you want to be added, Prasad, and I'll add you there. All right. Thank you.
Fine, I'll be there. I can add.
Okay, well,
Go
we've
ahead,
got
Michelle.
we've got things moving around. Okay, well, thank you everyone for joining today. I think this is the first time you've actually heard me speak to you all. So, hello everyone. I'm Michelle Chisman, and I am a cloud infrastructure architect at AWS. So, how many of you have heard of reInvent? How many of you have been to reInvent? How many of you have just been to Vegas? Yeah, seeing some replies. Okay, great. I'd never been to reInvent and I'd never been to Vegas. So for me, it was a complete unknown going to reInvent. And there's probably some of you watching that don't even know what reInvent is. So I'll give you a quick overview. That it's essentially the largest conference in the cloud world. So it's all AWS, it's run by AWS, and it's run in Vegas. Now, this year, it was predicted that we had 55,000 attendees. So it's big, right? This is a huge conference where people from all over the world are coming to Vegas to hear all about the new releases on AWS and to learn about various different areas of AWS that they might never have heard of before or touched in their day-to-day roles. And so it gives them a chance to do some hands-on work and learn about the cutting-edge innovation that's going on. I can see like quite a lot of you have heard of it and you've watched it. So Amazing. So in the AWS calendar, it's pretty big for us because we obviously have to go and make this event a success. So we have to go and propose sessions that we might want to run, workshops, we have to build those workshops, and then we have to actually get there on the day and make sure everything works. So it's a really, really big week. And I was not prepared for how big or how busy it was going to be. So I was there with I had to run a session with James, who you'll have seen throughout this BeSA program. And we were running a builder session on application integration patterns, which is just like a hands-on small workshop. And I was concerned because I thought, well, what am I going to do for the rest of the week? I've only got this one session and this one session repeat. How am I going to fill an entire week? I shouldn't have worried. There is so much going on. It is gigantic. There is an entire expo hall where all the different cloud vendors come together. And there's lots of activities in there. They're talking to you about their products, many of which you might use yourselves or have heard of. So, big names like HashiCorp and Datadog and all the names that you could think of are there in this room, this huge, huge room. And then on top of that, there's other things going on as well. So there's things like the Builders Fair. And the Builders Fair is where AWS employees will have built interesting projects that showcases AWS services. And just to give you a flavor of some of the things that was going on in there was a Scaleatrix track that used IoT that allowed you to use your own phone to drive the cars. That was really cool. I helped out with that. There was a cocktail making robot. So it was blending up cocktails for you according to the input that was inputted on a device. One of the coolest ones I saw for any beer lovers that are in the audience, they had used IoT sensors in a beer making process that would automatically dispense beer from the brewing keg into the ready keg once it had finished. And it was all based upon this small device that was floating in the actual beer and calculating live what the alcohol percentage was. So this was really cool, and it's all done on AWS services, things like IoT Core, and things like Kinesis, and just showing you the scope of things that you can actually do. And so there's no need to worry. There's so much going on, and I got to meet so many people. So I got to meet Ashish for the first time, which was amazing. I obviously got to meet some of the colleagues I already knew. I got to meet new people. I got to meet a whole host of customers and just general people interested in AWS. So there was always something. But it was also exhausting. So to think about 55,000 people, that's not just in one hotel. So this was spread across 6 hotels across the Las Vegas Strip. And if you've never been to Vegas, you're probably not prepared for how big Vegas is. And it's busy, really, really busy. So when we were there at the end of reInvent, there was a rodeo convention on at the same time. And there was a big basketball game happening as well. So Vegas was packed. Taxis were a nightmare. So you had to walk everywhere. And if walking sounds bad, I racked up 62 miles in 5 days, which was a huge number. I couldn't quite believe it when I counted it up at the airport at the end. So if for anyone wanting to go in the future, make sure you bring good shoes. Don't bring any heels if you're a woman. Just don't. You want good quality walking shoes or trainers that you've broken in, because you are going to walk everywhere. The hotels are huge. You can get lost very easily. On my first day there, I spent an hour completely lost in the Venetian underground. There's a whole host of shops down there. And I just kept on walking in circles. I had no idea where I was. I had no idea where I was trying to get to. And some people had to come and save me. Very bewildering. But from a content perspective, it's amazing. So it's primarily a learning conference, right? So we are there to teach you and teach everyone some of the best things that are going on at AWS. And to that effect, there's something like 2,000 sessions that you can attend. 2,000 sessions. across all of the different topics of AWS, whether you wanted to learn about serverless or compute, networking. There was everything you could possibly imagine. And all the sessions were really popular. So a lot of them had signups before you go. So you can go through the session catalog and you can say, I want to go to that session. And then some of the sessions were filmed, so you could watch them online if you couldn't get into the session itself. But there are other sessions like the builder sessions and things like chalk talks, which aren't necessarily filmed. So there's a lot more sessions that you could attend and you could learn from that you can't necessarily access online. I guess I want to bring Ashish in and get some of his perspective from what his experience was here. Because, you know, one person's experience of reInvent is not everyone's experience of reInvent. So Ashish, was this your first reInvent, or have you been before?
Yeah, it was my first reinvent. Been not traveling for a long time because of COVID and all things, but yeah, it was a first reinvent, and I was kind of a lucky enough person. Like somebody in my team canceled, and I was called in last minute, so I was able to get in. But yeah, being the last person to register was that I did not get the hotel which we were planned for, so I had to stay away from Strip. So it was a long journey every day, waiting for Uber, getting into the maze of the places. Like it's a huge place, as you mentioned. It's a labyrinth. I say, like, you can't walk the same path again. You will probably be driven to some other path, then find your path again and come back. So it was really really complicated. It was complicated. Like what I was participating on, I was representing technical training and certification team. So we were running a lot of boot camps there. So let people ready on, let's say, serverless, or maybe on containers, or maybe on to data analytics. So those were 4 to 6 hours of boot camp. We'll start with technical session, go through the labs, explain the concept, help them out. So that was one boot camp. Second, I was supporting something called self-paced labs. So we had like 100 plus labs available and a room full of two-screen computers. So anyone could come in, log in, and then start their lab. So it was a good experience for people to learn things firsthand without incurring any cost, like SageMaker, maybe machine learning, maybe analytical services. So that was one. Then there were some I delivered some spotlight labs. In that, the concept is that as a trainer, I first explain about the content of the lab, and then people practice it while I provide the live demo on that. So it was also interesting. We got lots of interesting question. And I was spectacle Michelle initially that, hey, my session was starting at 8 o'clock in the morning, Monday. I was thinking that who the hell is going to wake up at 7 in Vegas after all the crazy parties and attend my session at 8 o'clock? I was surprised when I walked in at 7, people were already lined up. You could imagine the craze people had to learning, and it was so humbling to see so many people traveling miles and miles to be there and learn from each other. So it was really humbling experience. So it was nice. It was daunting, obviously, a lot of travel, but yeah, good part is like I was able to meet some of the people like you, Prasad. Also, we were communicating a lot, but we were not actually meeting with them. So let me quickly share some of the pictures I have taken there. Give me a minute. I'll bring it up here.
While you're
And
bringing that up, I just
yeah,
want to confirm that people were very, very eager. So I had
exactly.
a workshop at 6 p.m. on a Wednesday. And that coincided with some of the restaurant receptions that were going on. So, you know, free drink on offer, free food on offer.
Yeah.
Who's going to attend the workshop? And yet they actually did. So we had about 80 people in that workshop.
Wow.
And they stayed to the end. So it was an hour and a half workshop, 2 hour workshop even. So yeah, till 8 o'clock at night they were there. Quite
It's
happily.
amazing, isn't it? Yeah, means people are lining up to get into this, and lines were huge. It was not like 10, 15 minutes waiting. Sometime it was because of 65,000 people. It was huge, huge thing. So I met Michelle, I met James, I met Prasad while he was running in the early morning. I was out to get a laptop adapter because I forgot to take my US converter, and I had to like was walking toward Target, and I saw Prasad all sweating up, burning the calories by his ice cream. It was nice experience. So that was one. I met one more girl there, and she is an active BeSA participant. I want to highlight about her. She is Rafael. and she has mentioned a lot of good post about summary event on what she did, what kind of people she met, and I like the way she writes the thing. So I'll pop these links into the chat so that anyone who wants to read on that. And obviously she's doing a lot of things for community, and it would be really helpful to see that how her contribution and how she is learning. She's coming from finance background, but she was still able to move towards cloud and get a lot of insight. So I'll pop some link in the chat so that you would be able to get all these things. There was a question from Venkat: don't all AWS employee get a chance to attend? Venkat, answer is no. No, that is impossible kind of thing, because consider that the sheer scale of the event, and then obviously, like, it's a costly affair, isn't it? Like going into Vegas, going into flight, then having your meal sorted, having your transport sorted, and it's all about customer. So 55,000, if we call all AWS people, it would be like dominating thing. So not everyone gets. So only few people are lucky enough to be there. I've been in AWS from 4 years, and this was my first reinvent. So you can think about, it's not something which everyone gets a chance into. So that was information about from my side. And let me at Prasad. Obviously, he won't be able to speak too much, but yeah, let's hear from him, like what his experience was.
No, you guys covered most of it. I can cover a bit about the speaking experience. So yeah, as like both of you mentioned, it gets very busy, and yeah, regarding the number of tickets that AWS employees get is low because it is a customer event and we prioritize customers over the AWS employees. So AWS employees are there mainly to help customers or support customers. That's and so we try and see how many bare minimum is required to support the large number of customers, and that's how we get. So for me, I try and get in early into Vegas always. This was my second reinvent, so that I can get over the jet lag, because generally the sessions start Monday morning, and as Ashish and Michelle mentioned, like even if it's Monday 8 a.m., people do line up. And last year when I was there, I was supporting workshops, and I did see that. I was surprised as Ashish was surprised. Man, it's like if people do party in Vegas till like 2 a.m., 3 a.m., but still at 7 a.m. they start lining up, and
Yeah.
yeah, it gets overwhelming. So I try and get in early. So I was in like Vegas by Friday evening. Saturday, Sunday, I chanced upon Ashish on the morning run on Sunday morning. It was great catching up with Ashish. But start Monday, it gets so busy. I had 4 sessions to deliver: two on Monday, two on Wednesday. And Michelle, I missed meeting you. Like I was looking into the Slack channel that you guys are meeting, and I was like, shit, I'll not be able to make it. I was at Mandalay Bay when you guys were at Venetian.
Yeah,
He was
Venetian.
mentioning the strip is it's a vast place, Vegas Strip, and Venetian is where the most of the expos and the keynotes and hall is there. And one of the hotel where the sessions are happening is Mandalay Bay, which is the end of the strip. So it's quite far, like it's almost 4 kilometers one way. I was there at that time. There is no way I saw the picture, but there is no way I could have made and met you guys. But it was nice. Uh, so in terms of the sessions, there are 3 or 4 kinds of sessions. The first session is breakout session. All your keynotes, leadership sessions, these are all breakout sessions where it is more delivery, 60-minute sessions, or even more in case of keynotes, when the main speaker speaks. The second type of session is uh, chalk talk. Chalk talk is more like what it says, chalk and talk. It's more of a whiteboarding session. This is a session for a smaller group of people. We try and max the limit of number of people in this room to 80. In breakout, the number of people can be anywhere from 100 to 500, to keynotes can even go to 10,000, 20,000. That's even more. And then there are overflow rooms, because in one room, all people cannot fit in. So they have overflow rooms with large screens, and those are all recorded, and you can see in the YouTube all the breakout sessions recordings are up on the YouTube with the hashtag reinvent 2022. So you'll be able to find all the recordings of all the breakout sessions. But the chalk talk sessions are more whiteboarding sessions where like it's a small group of people, and it is led mainly by the audience. We have a topic which we want to discuss, but then the audience asks questions on those topics. This is mainly like people who have already worked on that, or they are like it's a more advanced sessions, and we try and help answer their questions by either whiteboarding the architectures on the whiteboard, that is chalk and talk, or showing them the demos. uh, and then the third type of session is builder session or break workshop. Builder session is like 1 hour session, breakout session is workshop session is 2 hours. But primary goal of both the sessions is to help people do the hands-on. In builder session, there are 5 tables with 10 people each on each table. So there are 5 presenters, 1 presenter per table, and it's a like close. We help and try and like ensure that in 1 hour, all those 10 people are able to get hands-on on that particular service. In workshop, it is a bit more wider. There are around 200 people in one room, and there are around 7 to 8 people who support everyone there. So these are the 4 different kinds of sessions that happens, and overall, I think there were more than 2,500 sessions that happened in these 5 days. So you can think the kind of options the people have, right? And sessions go on from morning 8 till evening 8. And apart from the sessions, there are so many activities, like like Michelle mentioned, there's like I did not get chance to go into AWS Expo till Thursday. I was back to back busy with the meetings and the sessions I had to deliver Monday to Wednesday. But Thursday I made sure that I block a couple of hours just so that I can go and visit the expo, because it is such a cool place, to look into. There is a section called Builders Fair, where all the different kinds of builders will build something and show. Michelle, where exactly were you situated?
So I did a couple of sessions, but I was in the Builders Fair for the
Builders-
first 2 days on the Scale Electric stand, and that was really cool.
Oh yeah,
Yeah.
I thought that you were at Builder Fairs. And Thursday around 2 p.m., 3 p.m. I went there. I was searching for you. I wasn't able to find you, but I was okay.
So there were so many Builders Fair projects that they
Yeah.
did them in 2-day stints. So Monday and Tuesday was one project for each stand, and then they swapped them all over on Wednesday and Thursday. So they were
Oh.
able to get double the number of projects in, which was really cool. But that was really, really, I feel sorry for the people who had to start on the Wednesday, because when we were setting up on the Monday, we had something like 8 hours to do it. And we needed that 8 hours. We had a very involved setup. But for anyone who was setting up for the Wednesday, they only had from the point at which the stands had been broken down for the end of Tuesday to the point at which the expo opened on the Wednesday, which I think was 10 a.m. So they only had something like 10 hours to get their stand ready. Which they also have to sleep. So it must have been very, very stressful for them to get set up.
Yeah, it happens. Sleep in Vegas is a hard commodity, very frankly, very hard commodity. So I'll tell you my experience. By Wednesday, I was totally, back to back busy, and I was sleeping for 3 or 4 hours, which was fine. Thursday, I kept myself free. I met a lot of people from the All Builders Welcome. I'll talk about it in a moment. All Builders Welcome grant is a grant which is given to a lot of participants across the world, giving them chance to travel to reInvent free of cost. So I was able to meet few of them on Thursday. So I kept my Thursday free for all of that. But Thursday evening there is a big party called Replay that is organized by AWS, and it is the one of the world's best DJ comes, and there's a live show and everything. And I was excited for it. And it was around 4 p.m. or 5 p.m. when I was very tired. I thought I'll go and have a couple of hours nap, and then I'll be there at 7:38 when it was starting.
Oh no.
When I got up, it was 1:30 a.m. in the morning.
Oh no.
You
So I
missed it.
missed the entire replay.
You missed it.
And
It was nice.
later on, I saw there were 27 missed calls, on my mobile, and I was probably in so much deep sleep because of all these 3-4 days, exhaustion. But yeah, missed it. Missed replay. I see there is a question: on what basis employees get chance to get invited for reInvent? Okay, so the first is, as I said, there are 2,500 sessions that are going on. So they need speakers for these sessions. Most sessions, there are one speaker, but in most sessions there are, on average, there are 2 speakers, let's say, per session. So that's the way. If you are able to get a speaking slot, that's a short way to get into reInvent as a AWS employee. Other is, as Ashish and Michelle mentioned, there is builders fair, there is boot camps, and there are a lot of other activities going on. So all those other activities would need a lot of support, right? Training and certification team always has a big presence there, right, Ashish? If I'm not wrong, there is
Yeah, exactly.
always
I mean, too much, I would say, like too many people from training and certification. And like we had a dedicated certification lounge which
Yeah.
was only open for certified people. So if you're certified, welcome, sit around, have some cool swag to carry. And maybe we had a specific party for certified professionals, so it was nice to catch up with a lot of people. And we found a lot of people wearing something called a golden jacket, which is for people who have completed all 12 certifications. So it's not a official thing, but it is like a standard in AWS certification that, hey, if you have a golden jacket, means you have completed all the AWS certifications. So that was good. Another thing which Prasad mentioned about all builders welcome. So it's a nice program. I'm not sure if it is right now only for US participant, but I have to check. But no,
No,
it
it
is
is
on.
not for US. I
Okay,
have
good.
met people who are from Ghana and other places are traveling to reinvent.
Nice. So yeah, that is also chance for you people to go out, look for that kind of a thing when it happens next year. So they invite people from different background, different culture, different kind of social status kind of a stuff, and then everything is free, and you are there like a guest. You get to learn from the best. You get to stay into hotel, and you get your flight sorted, and everything is like ready. You are just like. Being there and enjoying the whole reinvent. And obviously the idea is to let more people involved, maybe because of some condition, because of travel issues, because of some other commitment they could not travel. So let's give them a chance so that they can all participate. So that was a nice gesture, I would say, from AWS. That's was there. So
Yeah,
that's
so like as Ashish mentioned, Rafla, I'm not sure if I'm pronouncing her name correctly,
yeah,
but she
yeah,
shared a lot of information with me, and I'm pasting that here.
yeah, yeah. That's true. That's true.
Yeah, so
And
we can ask
I'll
her. Like she's also
yeah,
like
she
BeSA
was
participant. We can ask
she
her
was
to add
yeah.
more information in our group.
Yeah, I'll do one thing. I asked her to share link for all the articles she has put. So I'll put this here. So she writes well, means I like reading her article. They are very short, crisp, and to the point. And I like the way that she uses words and analogy. So check out these articles. They are really nice, just to give you a summary of what she is up to. So that's a good thing. Now, there were other sessions also happening depending on the interest of people. There were a lot of partners there. So, partners who are working with AWS and they are showcasing their product. They are showing that how their product fits with AWS, what kind of business problem they solve. So, it was nice to learn that how people leverage AWS services and build some solution on top of it. And probably we may not have thought about those type of solution, but partners were creative enough to build on top of AWS. So it's a huge ecosystem, and Expo was all about it. Lot of partners and lots of knowledge sharing session from them. I attended one or two of them and met some old colleagues there. So it was really nice experience.
Yeah, there was definitely for all the learning there was a lot of fun as well. So Prasad mentioned replay. Replay was out of this world. It was,
Exactly.
it was something else, especially when you're jet lagged and trying to stay awake. And you've got this giant concert going on. They had two main stages this year. So we had Martin Garrix as the DJ for one stage and Thievery Corporation, I think, for the other stage. I didn't know who either of these people were before reInvent, so it meant nothing to me. But there was a definite theme this year at reInvent with slides. Did either of you go on the Datadog slide that was just outside the expo hall?
Yeah,
Yeah.
yeah, the slide,
Yeah.
right?
Yeah, yeah. So there was a slide to take you from one floor of the expo down to the bottom floor of the expo. It was quite fast.
Yeah.
There is a hilarious video of me going on it. I had my
Yeah.
sunglasses on my head because you need sunglasses in Vegas. Don't go without your sunglasses. And so they were on my head, and the slide had a middle part. And as soon as I hit that middle part, my sunglasses came down, and I ended on the slide looking like a cool dude, like down to the bottom.
Yeah, they were
Um,
capturing pictures too, right?
yeah,
Yes.
of course, yeah. And it was the most horrific picture in the world. They could not have gotten a worse picture of me as I got to the bottom of that slide. They need a more flattering photographer. But at Replay also, they had giant inflatable bouncy castle slides in one of the tents. But it was like climbing Mount Everest to get to the top of it
Exactly.
because they'd made it practically vertical, and you had to hold yourself up a rope
Rope.
to get to the top. So you burnt even more calories than you already had throughout the entire week. So yeah, it's a hard week. It's a lot of work, but there's a lot of play as well. There's a lot of
Yeah,
stuff that
exactly.
just have fun
Yeah,
with, lots of parties.
like in terms of mentioning the miles, right? Like, I clocked more than 100, kilometers. It was 110 kilometers when I saw my watch after 7 days. I'm like, wow.
I stopped counting because then I would deter from that. Hey, I don't want to walk. I have done already enough. So I stopped that. Now there is a
Yeah.
question from Ramakrishna: is AWS provide visa accommodation and reinvent for builders? So part of the program which Prashad mentioned, and I would send the link here. Yes, it is. It was done by AWS. So all the accommodation, travel plan, meals, and everything was taken care for the people who were selected. I think initially there were 100 seats, but they afterward I believe bumped it up to 400. So 400 people were selected and they were flown and all catered to, and they were able to participate, and obviously they were able to learn a lot because some things are very unique, like the labs we were offering as a training and certification team. They were unique to AWS reinvent, not available in a general practitioner world, so they were very unique opportunities to learn there.
There was another question that we've missed as well, saying, is reInvent only for AWS employees? And no, reInvent is open for everyone. Everyone who wants to attend can go. In fact, AWS employees are probably the only people who can't attend reInvent unless they have a specific reason to do so. So AWS is purely for all of you, for you to learn from AWS people and from the experts, our partners, all about AWS. So anyone who wants to go can go.
Yeah, makes sense. And I'm putting up a link here for the program I was mentioning and Prashad was talking about, all builders welcome. So check this page, maybe bookmark it, check when they will open next year, and probably you can get selected and get your way inside it. Why not? Means it is there. And then if you have some cool ideas to share there, probably you may have a way to, maybe they will open up more kind of opportunities for people to join in. A lot of people from community were there, like people who run user groups into different areas. They were called in, community heroes were called in. So
Mhm.
anyone who is contributing to community and making sure that people are getting more knowledge about AWS, progressing in their career, helping out others, so they were obviously being given a chance to visit AWS reinvent.
Yeah. And see, reinvent will be like next year now. It's almost 12 months away. But AWS summits keep happening
Exactly.
in every area, like every region, most cities and everything. So keep checking out. The calendar will start very soon. I think the first one would start in March now. It will
Yeah.
be probably in Brussels, and then it will be in Paris. So it will start, like first in EMEA, then in APAC, and then NAMER. Everywhere it happens in multiple cities. So keep a check on that and do attend. It's a one-day event, so it will not be, it will not be as hectic as a reinvent is, but it does give you the feel of, and it will give you all the opportunities to learn from the AWS experts and all the experience, like having the AWS certification lounge or people from training and certification team, or like the not exactly builders fair, but there will be some expos and demos and everything. So yeah, it's a mini version of reinvents.
Yeah.
There's a
So I
mini
popped up
version
a
here
link.
that
Yeah,
is
exactly.
free,
Yeah.
so you
So
don't have to pay to go to the summit.
yeah, exactly. So register for that and see when it is happening near to your town, near to your city, near in your country, and participate. And it's content-wise, it's still huge. You learn
Mhm.
a lot, and only thing is Vegas is not there, but yes, everything else remains same. The commitment, the way, the quality of the presentation, quality of the speakers, the type of sessions we have, so everything remains same. And probably you would get chance to meet a lot of people with like mindset and with like likings on AWS. So it's a nice place. So don't miss out it. And if you cannot participate physically, still join online. You learn content. There is still networking to be done there. You would reach out to people afterward. Hey, I watched your session, and this is what I am working on, or this is the idea I have. Can you help me out? So feel free to do networking. It's not physical presence always required, but get involved, get online, and be present into the summit. That is like top-notch things you could attend. Good. Any more questions, anyone, before we give time to Jamila? And Jamila, we miss you there, to be honest. We wanted to have you also there if you could, but yeah, probably next year we would be all getting time for it. So it should not be issue on that. Right.
Thank you very much, Ash. I must admit that I really appreciate your swags that you brought from reInvent. They were all cool. I'm looking forward to wearing the t-shirt and have the cap. And my daughter loved the little giraffe. When she saw it, she was like, "Oh, thank you so much." So,
Yeah, it
yeah,
was a nice cap. Means I liked it. I'll show. Just give me a minute if I have it here. So it was a cap done by given by AWS certification team. So you could wear it like this, and then you could have a fancy giraffe on top of it. So that giraffe was like a magnetic thing, and that was the top of the
yeah.
class thing. People were wearing this thing, so I may look funny on that, but yeah, this is what it was like. You could put it on the magnet, and that was a
That
nice thing. So
nice one. My daughter loves me with that giraffe. So it
good,
is what
thank
it is,
you.
right? I
Yeah,
cannot take it
exactly.
back from my cap, but yeah, thank you so much. And
No worries at all,
all
guys.
the other goodies
Great.
were super nice. And I hope,
Thank
yeah,
you.
next year I'll be there with you all. Um, yeah, looking forward to it.
Mm, thank you.
Yeah.
So we will now let's yeah, that's a nice cap, Cynthia. Agree on that. Question from there was a manual testing and how about AWS? Can I work on that? So Tahir shouldn't be a problem. If I talk about personally, I've been into testing field for a while. Like I worked as a QA tester for 2 or 3 years for NetApp, and I did a lot of testing. And obviously, I am still into AWS as of now. So it's not like where you are. It's more important is where you want to be. There is always a path. Maybe it will take little time, maybe it will take more efforts, maybe it will take little bit more mentoring, but if you are committed that hey, I want to be there, and obviously we can help you out in the way we can. There are a lot of people doing things, so should not be a problem at all. Reach out to us and we can chalk out a plan that what can be the best way for you to get forward into your career step, and we should be happy to help. All
Nice.
right. So thank you, everyone. And I'll let Jamila take it away. I'll thank you, Prasad. Thanks, Michelle. I'll add you later, and we are responding on chat. So let us know if you have any questions at all. And don't go away. We have a guest coming up who would be after Jamila's session, who is a bit of BeSA participant still, and she's been very active participant, and she's now working from AWS, working for AWS India in like from last month, I guess. So she would share her incredible story, how she started, what was the background she had, what kind of interviews she went through, and what was the motivation for her to join AWS and how she excelled in the way. So we'll talk about that. So don't just go away, and over to you, Jamila. Thank you.
Thank you. Thank you, everyone. It was super interesting to hear from my colleagues about their reInvent experience. Um, and now, before I start actually talking about part of the SA's role is to present and prepare the demo for the customers. I'd like to ask people who are watching us live, um, have you had a chance, based on your job, to build and prepare a demo and actually show it to the customer? I'm waiting for your answers on the chat. Let's see how many people had a chance to build and show. Okay, someone said yes, have done the demo many times. Someone says no, second no. All right. Prepare the demo on NLP. Excellent. And today I'm going to discuss on a high level about the demo which falls under NLP as well. Okay, so I see some people have done it. Substantial amount of people on the chat. I can see that they already have some more or less experience about building a demo and showing it to the customer. So what makes the demo great, and what makes the demo applicable for the customer use case, like spot on? What do you think? Is it your great technical skills? Is it how you actually wrap it up as a package and show it to the customer. How would you define a great demo? Presentation skill. Okay, so do you think that no matter how cool your demo is, it could be even scrappy, but if you present it in a good way, it will be win-win? All right. How you present what they want, okay, what customer wants to hear. All right. In line to customer requirements, good answer. Define and solve the problem statement. Short and precise to the point. I like that answer. Short and precise to the point. All right. Let me challenge almost every answer that I see in the chat by just giving you a high overview that when customers are asking for a demo, what solutions architects should be doing. It should address the customer need. I agree, absolutely. So when I joined AWS, during my onboarding process, we were required, or as a part of the process, we were required to build a demo and to build a demo based on the customer requirements, and showing it to the internal main stakeholders. Would it be your manager or any other senior people in your team or across the teams, etc. What was my main mistake when I started and I thought I'm doing cool and why I'm receiving this kind of tough feedback is that I was thinking that, okay, I know about DynamoDB, I know about, I don't know, Redshift, RDS, and I know S3, I know how to build a data lake. Cool, I can put things together and build a demo. So my first mistake was that I know what I know, and I go to the customer meeting with this knowledge in my mind. And when customer starts tailoring their problem, you start to kind of immediately click and say that, okay, this will fit this will solve your problem, because unconsciously you think that this is the case, and because you know how to use, let's say, RDS or DynamoDB, you think that it will fit the customer requirements, and you think it gives you confidence, and you think that, okay, you will be able to build a demo and solve the customer's problem. What was actually needed is that actually try to understand better and try to reveal the fact or the point that your customer will give you a scenario where you will realize that, oh, actually, I don't know it. Would DynamoDB fit that requirement, or would that service actually be applicable for that? And you become uncomfortable because you don't know. And because you are with a customer, you need to give that kind of confidence that you know what you're talking about, right? And then I realized that, and during my onboarding and in time at AWS, I realized that it is actually what is expected from you as a solutions architect, not to go on a customer call and say, okay, let's build it for you. What is your problem? Cool, I will build it. I will show it to you, and you'll be happy. That's not the case, because sometimes customers think that they want to solve the problem X, but as soon as you start talking to customers and as soon as you start to dig around more about their problems, they might even understand or realize that, hey, I haven't thought about it. Let's try maybe that one. And then you start offering some options. Even if you don't know a specific service that will fit their requirement, you start kind of giving the art of possibility and explaining the problem and the solution in a bigger picture to your customer. Your customer will start to appreciate it even more, rather than you coming and talking about how cool DynamoDB is or how you can build a data lake on AWS without actually understanding your customer's pain point. This was a huge turning point for me to understand, and I was like, because you have that in your mind, and I was kind of rigid because, okay, I built specific architecture in my brain, and I was thinking, okay, this is exactly the demo I'm going to build, and I was trying to ask specific questions which will lead the customer to answer in a way that that service will be applicable, which was completely wrong, which made me really uncomfortable back in that time. But now I'm comfortable for being uncomfortable and asking tons of questions and trying to understand customers' bigger problem. Customer might talk about just one specific business side without giving you other details, but you need to understand a bigger picture and give the customer the knowledge and the solution that they might not necessarily need it right now, but they might need it in the future. So if we kind of step back from that point and start think about what could be the scenario, let's say, right? And I'm not sure if because some of my customers are watching BeSA program now, and one of the customer requirements I had recently, a couple of months ago, is that they need a chatbot solution for their internal system. So they have an internal portal, and they want a chatbot. Okay, cool. So in reality, what would I do if I wasn't a solutions architect in AWS? I was like, cool, let me go find out what is the chatbot service solution in AWS. I bet they do have a chatbot service. Let me figure out technically how to build it, how to connect things, how to make sure that this thing, whatever I'm building, works, and then show the customer that, okay, this is the chatbot, this is how I built it, this is working, this is the price, feel free to buy it. But what actually is needed right now, at least in AWS, as a solutions architect, I'm working with customers, is that to understand why do they need that? Why do they need a chatbot in their internal portal? Well, we want to make sure that their employees internally are able to find the relevant information they want. Okay, why don't you want to use search mechanism? Why do you need chatbot? Well, because it will be easier, because some of the information is not available through the search engine. Okay, what are you using for your search engine? What are the services in the backend? Can you talk about the architecture? Do you have are you using AWS, or are you using any third-party provider? And then you start gathering information, you start gathering customers' pain points, and then you think, okay, so initially the problem is that they want a chatbot. They want their employees to interact with the bot, get an answer. Okay. Then you start asking, okay, what kind of information you were looking over the search engine, or your employees were looking through the search engine, and they weren't able to find. And then it turned out that the customers are not located, and the main language is not German, so they are using their main language is not English, so they are using other languages, let's say German, French, or Spanish. And in their internal system, if the users want to find information, they need to exactly write the specific word in a specific language. If it's French, they need to write in French. So there is no kind of integration between languages in their internal system, where they do ideally want to have it. Okay, so we found out, based on the customer problem, that it's not only chatbot solution they want, but rather they have many other problems or use cases where we can actually help. Then we start thinking about, okay, so it would be good to have actually in their backend some service or some sort of a solution which will translate. Let's say if the user is looking in French language a specific piece of information, that user will get an information either in English, in other languages as well, like not only that piece of information. Because let's be honest, when we are speaking in our own language, even if we're looking for other resources, we might instinctively look for information that is comfortable in our own language. To eliminate this problem, it would be good, as customer was saying, whatever the language the employee is writing, they want the employee to be able to see the list of information that will be translated in the backend. Okay, cool. And then they also want the system to learn automatically. So also to have like a AI ML based search, because apparently whatever the search engine they're using, third party, cloud, non-cloud, whatever it is, I'm not going to reveal that part. But if you're talking to a customer, of course, it's a confidential information. Whatever the system they're using, the service they're using for the search engine is not working as they expect or as they want. So they need something better, something advanced, AI ML. Okay, so we have 3 potential opportunities we can tackle in. First, it's a chatbot. Second, we reveal that it will be cool to have a translation something in the backend. It could be Amazon Translator. Third, it could be advanced search engine, which will be probably Amazon Kendra. Why not? Right? And then you say, okay, so let's circle back. Why do you need the chatbot? Then the customer say, okay, so instead of user going to the search engine looking for something, we want the user to be able to ask questions and get relevant information. And then I said, okay, is it going to be based on the authentication and authorization? So are you going to restrict users to be able to access to specific piece of information in your system? Then if the answer yes, which was the answer back in the time, then the user is going to be restricted to find that piece of information. What does that mean is that, okay, if let's say I'm in finance department and I'm going to, I'm a new hire, I want to get access to a project X. And I don't know if I do have access. I don't want to bug my manager because I'm just a new joiner. I'm trying to figure things out, internal system, etc. I will be able to open the chatbot and write, okay, I want to access, how can you add me to project X? And then that chatbot will somehow authenticate me, my employee ID, my name, whatever it is, and tell me if I'm able to access to that project or not. Okay, let's remember that point. And I see someone is asking, when you bring to client and other services that may help them, do you bring costs, or the customers asks about billing to implement that? Cool. Yes, when you bring to the client other services that may help them, you will need to include the cost point in your spreadsheet about total cost of ownership that you're going to create for your customer. But again, if your customer is cost receptive, if the cost point is their number one priority, then you will need to communicate it clearly. You can say, okay, on a first phase, you can implement this part. And then the second phase, you can implement this part. And then for going forward, you can also integrate translate option and let's say AI ML search engine, let's say. But if your customer is absolutely okay with the cost, you will explain in more details how this cost is going to be incurring for them, how it's what are the benefits for them, and if it's time sensitive or not. Then you can just leave that option on the table for your customers to decide. But as a solutions architect, your main goal here is not to build the demo that your customer asked. I want a chatbot. Okay, I will go and build a chatbot. It doesn't work. It shouldn't work this way, like straightforward. I want this. Okay, I will give you this. It shouldn't be. And you need to understand, why do they want the chatbot? What are their use cases? What they're currently using? What are the options they have already explored? What did they like about it? What they didn't? And then you give the customer that confidence and that kind of knowledge that, okay, I will build not because it's cool to build, right? Not because you asked to build, but because we revealed on the meetings, on a couple of meetings, discovery calls or whatever, with wider team from customer side, even if from your side, if you need specialists or need people who are experts, who are experienced or subject matter experts in the specific area, let's say AI/ML, you can work together with them and identify specifically if this is exactly what your customer actually needs and wants and will be beneficial in the long term for their business. Cool. So we identify that this is something your customer will probably need, meaning authentication and authorization. So, okay, initially your customer was asking for a chatbot where the employee will search for an information. Done. Now we're at the point where customers saying, no, actually we want a better search engine. We want actually translating thingy in the background. We want employees, not all employees actually, to be able to access this information, because when anyone in the portal searching for a specific project, they all can get access, but we don't want that. So you kind of filtered and narrowed down the scope to a real solution or real problem that you see and the solution you can provide. Okay, once it's all done, then you can offer the customer, okay, so for AI/ML, a new kind of type of search engine we have in AWS, we have a service called Amazon Kendra. And then you start explaining on a high level, what is the service, what are the requirements, or what is the benefit for the customer to use that service. And then next you go translate, and then we have Amazon Translate, and then again you start explaining what is it, what it does, what would make sense or not. And then next you go Amazon Lex, which is a chatbot solution, and then you explain that, okay, this is a chatbot, you will be able to integrate to your internal system, etc., etc. And then you start asking, okay, what do you want your chatbot to be able to? How do you want your chatbot to interact with your employees? What are the questions your employees are going to ask? What is the answer you are expecting from your chatbot to answer? So all these kinds of options, you you start asking your customer on a discovery call, you document everything, and then you start building a demo. So during the demo build, what I would highly recommend, if it's something that is available already online and publicly available, like workshops, I don't know, blog posts, maybe YouTube videos, official or non-official AWS YouTube videos where someone is actually building, etc. I would highly recommend you to use those resources and build your demo based on your customers' requirements, like the questions and the answers based on those resources. The reason why I'm asking, once you will show your customer how the demo looks like, what they're going to do, they will most likely, hopefully, they will like it, and they would want to replicate or to build the same thing on their environment, on their test environment. So how they're going to do it? So start thinking, what are the resources? You don't want to send them just the dry documentation, which will talk about things, but you rather want to share with them something that someone has done it already as a hands-on experience, or someone is already building live online, for example, on YouTube, or maybe a blog post which will explain in more details, including technical details, like if code includes, or if there is a GitHub repository, etc., etc. So instead of you building everything from scratch, which using these resources will save your time as a solutions architect and will help your customer as well to start building on their side if they are hands-on and if they are willing to do so. All right, so once we kind of chop it down this side, what we're going to do, I'm going to show you the demo actually, what I built for the customer, but of course I deleted all these like customer specific site, and it will be just on a high level kind of interaction between myself and the chatbot. So I'm going to share my screen, and then we can start looking at the resources and the demo. All right. So before I start sharing screen, let me see if we have any questions. Yeah, thank you. Like this. IoT. Okay, someone shared my blog post. Thank you very much for that. I appreciate it. All right. Let me share my screen. All right. Okay, I hope you're able to see, yeah, Q&A bot workshop. Again, as I said, before you go ahead and actually build something from scratch,
Can you zoom in a little bit so that we can have a better view on that?
Thank you. That's a good idea.
A little bit more. Yeah, that is still room. Yeah, that's better.
Okay.
Thank you.
No worries. Cool. So again, before we dive deep and start actually building things from scratch, it is good to do some research. If it's publicly available, if there are some publicly available resources, great, go ahead, just build based on the workshop, based on the blog post, on a YouTube video, etc. So it will help your customer as well. So I found, for example, for Amazon Lex and Kendra open source Q&A bot project, I found the blog post, which was super helpful. And there is an architectural diagram, actually, who already built it for the customer deploying Q&A bot in the call center. It will explain all the sites, all the steps and details on how to build the demo. Of course, it will depend on your customer use case. Do they really need a data storage transformation quick site part or not? Do they need a kinesis part, which is a data streaming? So again, you can build an entire architecture shown in the blog post and show your customer only the bits and parts that are relevant to them. You can do that, but again, make sure that when you present it in a logical manner so your customer understands and makes it relevant to them. And the next part, I think, it was very helpful for me personally to find the workshop, right? So you start looking at the workshop, you will see here like a YouTube video explaining what is that service, what it does, and then you will see an architectural diagram. Again, it is a workshop, so they have tons of other services that may not be exactly applicable for your specific use case, but you may pick and choose once you actually build it, pick and choose what you're going to show your customer. Like you will tailor it and you will filter it down to the point that actually you will show your customer, and that will be your customer's use case. What I really liked in this workshop is that there is a CloudFormation deployment is already there. So instead of me going and clicking or writing the CloudFormation from scratch by myself, I can actually click literally one button and it will deploy everything for me in any of these regions. So I remember I launched the stack and the demo was kind of built for me, which is really awesome thing, my personal opinion, because it saves your time, it will save your customers time. It is, since it is publicly available, of course, it went through a technical review, security review, and we always recommend customers when they actually use publicly available kind of stacks, and they deploy it first into their test environment. We don't want customers to deploy anything in production, and also making sure that they give least privileges in their identity access management service. So once you deploy the stack, what is it going to show? It is going to deploy the UI about the Q&A bot. If your customer is hands-on and they do want to go on AWS console and build everything from scratch using Amazon Lex service, they can do that. And absolutely, you will need to have the confidence to go ahead and explain what is the intent and how you are starting to build a proper chatbot in the service. But if you think and if you see that your customer is not very much hands-on and they really want to see a bigger picture of how the solution will look like, how the demo, and they want to see to get a sense of the demo, you can deploy that CloudFormation stack, which will create this beautiful UI of the Q&A bot, and it will be kind of like a chatbot where you will interact and the bot will reply to you. And when another point is that when you start showing, when you come to a customer meeting with already built demo, I would definitely recommend to start with starting to show the demo, like from how to say, before diving deep into details, just show the end result, how it looks like, what it does, what it is, what customers were asking, and then start diving deep into the details and chop it down on the services you used, on the back end, on the points that you actually, how you built the questions, where did you do that, what are the services you integrated, are there Lambda functions involved, how did you connect Amazon Kendra with the service, etc. So if you start with those details and showing your customers the demo, by the time that you actually show the demo, they might get tired and already sleepy, and maybe some of them are in a rush. They have a hard stop in half an hour or 15 minutes. So you don't want to lose that momentum. Once you have the customer, you just want to kind of show the demo, and then the details will follow. Again, sometimes deeply technical people in the audience, they will stay until the end and ask you tons of other questions on the technical part, but sometimes you will have in the room some business people or some managers. They just want to see how this demo works. So it is a good practice to show the demo. That's what I'm going to do, to show the demo, and then dive deep into details, into technical details. So let's start invocating our demo. So I will I just typed hi, and then the chatbot is saying, how can I help you? And I want to say, I want to know how to add. I'm not sure if you need, guys. All right, I hope you're able to see it better now. I want to know how to add a user to the project, right? And then bot is asking, can I have your 8ID for security purposes? 8ID is a employee ID, basically. Some companies may have 8, some companies might have 4, 16, etc. So we built the chatbot the way that it asks your employee ID before actually proceeding. So you need to write whatever your 8ID is. Let's say, all right, very creative of me, I know. Okay, and then once it authenticated your 8ID, it asks, which project do you need, right? And then I can say, I think it was project X. And then it says, thank you. It seems you don't have access to that project. Please contact your admin at anycompany.com. Okay, so once you don't have access, it will basically deny you, and then it won't give you access to any project. But what if you do have actually access to the project? What is going to happen? What is going to happen is that it will start searching in the internal portal that project, and it will give you the result that you need without you actually building it. What is happening is that in the backend, Amazon Kendra, which is AI/ML search engine, we connected that AI/ML search engine with their internal portal. In that case, for the demo purposes, I just uploaded the document and also connected with web crawler, which is identity access management website, right? As soon as I start asking, and then I give like a hint, which is in that document, and I know I have access, it will bring me, Amazon Kendra will start crawling through that website and give the user the information they need. So let's say, so I'm not sure if I just refresh my page, and I'm not sure, it's not working. All right, so I'm not sure why my page, it's a pain of the live demo, right? It might sometimes work, it might not, so all good. So I just want to show you a part. Okay, this is a designer. Okay, I don't need a designer. I don't. Oh, this is a designer too. I will talk about the designer side as well, but before I do that, I just want to show you. Oh, I don't know why it didn't work at first time. So let's start actually making sense if the employee has access to the project, right? Again, I will just copy and paste the document that I have. Okay, and they will ask, can I have your 8 ID? Of course. And then I will just give a random number here. And in which project, and I will just say identity access management. Right, and then for identity access management, it will actually go ahead and crawl the services from the resources that I give to access to Amazon Kendra, and it will give the document that the user needs, and with the source link, so the user can go ahead and do that. You can see different sources in different languages that is built intentionally, so different users, different employees can access the information that they want, instead of just one in English or in Spanish or in German. They can access different types of information in different languages, and that was the whole point of building the demo. So if we go ahead to Q&A bot designer part, which was also deployed by the CloudFormation stack that we have in the workshop here. So in the designer part, you have actually the ID, you have type, like Q&A, and then the question part. So basically, if we go ahead, I just write the item ID 1, and then you start writing question, meaning how your user is going to invoke or wake your Q&A, wake your bot. And then once your users say hi, what is going to be answer? Answer will be hi, how can I help you, right? Once you do that, and then what do you want? Like the second side of your interaction, you want your user to be able to say, like, I want to know how to add the user to the project. And then the answer will be something like this. And then when you give this number as a project, as your employee ID, it will ask you, what is the project you need? When you say project X, it will say, apologies, it will say, okay, you don't have access because this employer ID with this project X doesn't seem to have access in their database. But if you give this employer ID with the project name that you just mentioned, identity access management, then it will bring the details of the identity access management from the Amazon Kendra, which will crawl the websites that you already integrated in the backend. I'm conscious about the time, so I'm not going to talk and I'm not going to walk through the AWS console showing the Amazon Kendra site, etc. But what I would like to do is that just popping into the chat, the Q&A bot workshop, in case you are interested to build it on your site, and just testing how it works or what it does, and also the Q&A bot workshop, apologies, the blog post that is also very helpful if you want to get your hands dirty. With that being said, I realized that I'm signed off. I need to log in back to Twitch, but I'm going to share these links in our LinkedIn group as well. So thank you very much. I hope I didn't bore you to death with my talking and demo. And if you have any questions, please do let me know. All right, let's see. Okay, I see Prasad, I think, or Ashish already pasted the link. Can we build a similar chatbot in free tier? You can build a similar chatbot in free tier. You will need to check for free tier how many requests you will be allowed to ask from Amazon Lex and from Amazon Kendra to be eligible for free tier. Like if you overuse it, of course it will incur costs, but if you start planning on what you're building or how many times you're going to ask, it might fall under a free tier as well. All right, any more questions? Oh, thank you very much. People are saying thank you, great demo. It will show any project. What do you mean it will show any project? Reva Tilushi, if you can explain your question, that would be great. All right, ever happen that the client do a deeply technical question about their problem that face before? Of course, every single day. What kind of question is that? Yeah, to be fair, it does happen very often that your client is going very, very deep into one specific topic. Let's say SAP workloads on AWS. I have no clue SAP workloads in more details. Like especially, I can talk about a high level on the technical side, like why they might consider to use SAP on AWS. I might even think about the programs or the benefits from commercial side as well. But once they start actually diving deep on SAP side, I'm just frozen. I'm lost. I don't even know what kind of notes I need to be taking, right? I'm just literally lost. On that side, I just tell the customer, okay, thank you very much for explaining. Like I try to kind of navigate in a way that telling them I'm not expert on SAP at all, but what I can do, schedule a separate time for a call with them, with their technical audience, and bring an SAP specialist. We have really great resources in AWS, SAP specialists with AWS. So I usually just ping them and ask their support to come along and support the customer requests. Yeah, so to your point, it is quite possible, and it does happen. It is no way possible for us as an SA to know all the more than 200 services of AWS and be able to dive deep to every single service. So it is expected that we don't know, and it is expected that we are honest with the customer by saying we don't know. But we will get back to you with the resources, with specialists, with whatever needed to support you along the way. No worries. I'm glad that someone is saying I will definitely try it out. Cool. Good luck. No worries. When you put your ID, you got the project. When you put your ID, you got the project. It's up to you if you are going to, if you want that to be tied to your ID or not. You can even integrate in the backend with Amazon Cognito and maybe DynamoDB to complicate your own life, I know. But no, to be fair, to kind of make it more realistic, I would say. So it authenticates and authorize the employee like in a real life, because your employee will have a specific ID and you do want them in reality um, to be authenticated. So how are you going to do that? Yeah, there are some services and some usage, but if you just want to keep it kind of simple, as I did in a dummy format, I just wrote the number and associated the number with the project, and then I told the Q&A that okay, I want the user to have access, or I don't want the user to have access. As simple as it gets. Any more questions?
Thank you, Jamila. That was an interesting demo, and I'm sure a lot of people would be trying that. One thing I could add in, like you mentioned, that hey, demo is not about your skills, like what you know. So don't overimpose yourself on a customer demo. Yes, you may know everything in the world, but they are not there for that. They are there to solve a business problem. So focus on that. Whatever your niche skills are, they can be helpful, but yeah, focus on the customer problem and your demo would be successful. And do not forget to ask about feedback, how it went. Like maybe informal feedback sometime is much better, or maybe formal feedback. If you have mechanism to collect feedback, do that too, and keep on improving. It's not like, hey, I mastered everything and I know everything. As I say in my training, that I am not Google. I do not know everything. So there is always an opportunity to learn. So use these leverage demo. Let customer ask question, engage them. Let's see how they are feeling comfortable. What are the questions coming from the room? Are they more inclined technically, or they are more inclined on the business side? So read the room sometimes, and you may have to adjust the pace and be ready for things which may not work as well as every time. So yes, we do a lot of demo. Most of the time we have practiced it, but sometime it doesn't work at all. Maybe there was some issue, there was a network connectivity. So be prepared for that. Don't feel that this will never happen. Be prepared for those corner case scenarios when thing doesn't go as expected, and you should have some plan. Maybe what I do, like personally, I record demos in case required. So if it is like a critical demo, and if I feel that I'm going into unknown territory, I record it just in case network connectivity didn't work, or maybe I could not connect. I could still play around, and then we can at least see how things work in action rather than just talking about it. So be
I
ready
think
for those kind of
I
scenarios.
think actually that's a great point in terms of recording, and I totally agree with you. And I'm taking your advice on that based on my gap that I that I experienced. So I remember last year in April, it was a London summit, and I had executive briefing for my customers. Exactly. I had a demo, I built it, I spent hours and nights on it. And what happened in London Summit? There was a network connectivity issue. And I was all over the place. I was running like a headless chicken. Bloody hell, I have sea level of my in the room, and I have no network to show the demo that I built overnight, and I spent hours and hours on it. It was so stressful. So kind of I don't know, kind of complicated for me to show the demo in its best. And yeah, right on that time, I was thinking why I didn't record it. If I did, I would be at least able to show it how it works, and then like slowly walking through the demo and showing how to do things. At the end, of course, I was able to find the proper network, and we worked together with the account team and other colleagues in AWS. They were all supportive, and the network was established. But yeah, that stress that I experienced for a couple of hours, yeah, that is this is my trauma by having that recording for forever. So I resonated properly, and I do agree with you 100% to have a recording just in case.
Nice. Thank you. Thanks, Jamila. It was an interesting demo. So yeah, IoT is something like which is always coming up, and then a lot of things which you shared can be useful. And read the room sometimes, like because sometimes it doesn't like you may prepare demo for technical people, but you end up with non-technical people. So it's better to read the room and then be ready for those kind of questions or be ready to adjust. Have some plan B in case hey you wanted to present X, but if they are not interested what else can be done on that, so make sure that.
Thank you. I agree.
Good.
Thank you very much. It was a pleasure.
Same here, thank you.
Bye,
uh,
everyone.
Thank you. So now I know that we are out of time, but I'm sure that people are all eager to listen about a success story. Who doesn't like success story, isn't it? Now what we see is the tip of the iceberg, but there is a lot of preparation behind the scene which happens when somebody achieves something or something great is achieved. So hopefully people won't mind if we are still extending session for a few more minutes, and we want that to honor the guest. Hopefully everyone would be okay to extend a little bit more time with us and hear from one of BeSA participant. And obviously, she has been very active into LinkedIn. Has been on that. Yeah, I can see people guessing her name, so that's completely fine. Hopefully, with everyone to keep on moving forward for a few more minutes and to hear from what her journey was, how she excelled, and what kind of things she has done to get into the job or position she's currently in. Everyone okay to extend for some few minutes? Everyone okay so far? In case you have to drop off, feel free. Yeah, that's completely fine. Then you can watch the recording at the end, should not be an issue. So if you want to drop off, feel free. I know everyone has commitment on weekend, and obviously I speak a lot when I'm given time. So probably it is on me that I have taken a little more time. But let's go ahead and talk to Parna, and we will then move forward. So Parna Mehta is here. Hey Parna, thanks for being here. It is so nice to
Hi,
have you here.
Ashish.
Thank you. So
I'm
I
equally excited to be here.
Yeah, I mean, it's a great journey. Means probably people would be amazed. I know Parna because of LinkedIn. We got connected, and then she was already into her way, and we were able to connect. And she then one day said, "Hey, I'm getting interviewed by AWS," and then I got a good news that hey, she got selected. And then she pinged me on the internal message, which was a great thing to have someone ping you on internal message while you connect to them on LinkedIn. So it's really nice a journey there. I think Prasad is also with us. So Prasad may be also interested to ask some questions. So I would start with the very basics, like what is your background, Parna? Like what compelled you into IT and how you started?
Yeah, thanks, Ashish. Very happy to be here, and being on the other side of the camera is awesome. I was the annoying learner who was always chatting up, but it's great to be here. Thank you so much for bringing me to the stage, first of all. Yeah, I would love to share my journey. So it's been quite a, I won't say a smooth ride, quite a bumpy ride. I actually started off my career as a software developer, and I was in J2EE. So that was a really long time ago. Started my career in about 2002, and
Hmm.
I did all sort of development role, analyst and designer. Then I went on site and I worked for a couple of years in the UK, and it was a great exposure there. So I worked as an on site coordinator where I interacted with my team back in India. Almost 4.5 years there, and so after about an experience of about 6.5 years, I got married, and then I had to have a career break. So I did work for some time in Australia as well, and there too in purely software development role, and I did a little bit of team leading, but that was again in Java J2EE. Thereafter, I conceived, and I have two beautiful children. But with that came my career break as well. So almost 12 to 13 years of career break. Uh, Thereafter, some people who know me, I had a very rough personal patch, and I had to get back on my feet. And anybody knows getting back to IT after such a
Exactly.
huge gap is completely impossible. Uh, Somehow the pandemic was my lifesaver, and a lot of education technology companies, edtechs, what we call in India, was coming up with coding programs for children. And I thought, let me try out there, because getting my foot through the door into IT is not going to be easy. Nobody's going to be noticing me. And I tried applying to these edtechs, and I got some part-time role as a coding instructor. And I was glad that yes, I remember a little bit of coding, and I started teaching children uh, right from 6 to 18 year olds, and so that was happening throughout the 1 year that I was teaching them. I was, in fact, developing some curriculum also, and I got a lot of exposure because I worked in several edtechs in that 1 year's time, and I proactively took up a lot of assignments, even freelance ones, how much ever I could. In the meantime, the first time actually I got introduced to AWS was, I got a scholarship from this a job portal called as Jobs for Her. So they had these scholarships which they were giving out to returner women so that they can get up on their feet. And I thought, let me try applying. And I applied for it, and I got 100% scholarship to learn mean full stack development. And that was with Simply Learn. That was a 6 month program, really intensive master's thing. But I took it onto myself because I thought that probably nobody will recognize me with my previous skills. Let me just try to upgrade and get fresh skills. And during this program, that's where I got introduced to AWS, because in the platform that I was learning in Simply Learn, they had a lab environment where we had to deploy our application, and that really intrigued me, because I knew that I was deploying it somewhere like AWS, but I didn't understand what it was
Mhm.
about. So every time I opened the console, and I was like, there's so much you can do here, but uh, uh, it wasn't covered much in the course. So I tried to go and explore on my own after the course also. And then, as if there was a calling, so I joined a community called Aspire for Her, and they started a program called She Days, which was in collaboration with AWS. And as a returnee, because I knew that ultimately I wanted to get back into a pure IT kind of role, I enrolled for that, and that is where my awakening started. And I discovered all these marketing webinars which was exposed by the She Days program, where I attended Cloud Practitioner Essentials, Technical Essentials. Then there was some modernization, app modernization webinars. And I repeatedly attended them because they keep happening throughout the month,
Mhm.
every month. And at first, things did not make sense to me, but over time I realized that I could not just be in a development background, and it's not sustainable for me at my age to go back into pure coding. And I knew that I had to pick somewhere between AI, ML, data science, or cloud computing. And this seemed very natural to me. When I started learning it, I started liking it, understanding it. And the more I attended these webinars, the more interested I got. And Google is everybody's best friend. So I
Exactly.
started Googling about, because I discovered AWS has so many free learning opportunities. So I came upon this cohort program for women called as She-Builds cohort, Cloud Up, and they were basically it is I think for women all across the world, of whether tech background or non-tech background, from different fields, and you could come in and they would help you out with guide you with resources, and you could come on board, learn with others. Very nice community, like-minded women. And at the end, if of the cohort, if you can prove that by giving a practice exam, they would give you a voucher if you showed that you had got above 80%. So I did both the cohorts for the cloud practitioner as well as the solution architect one. And it was awesome because there were a couple of training sessions also, not regularly. And I learned a lot from senior mentors from AWS. And I think somewhere around the solution architect cohort, that's where I discovered BeSA, which was like a great blessing for me. And I regularly, everybody knows I have never missed a session, and that aided to my learning. The difficult part for me was because what I was currently doing, where I was training children and creating apps. So what I was teaching children were to create mobile apps and web apps, but
Hmm.
it has nothing to do with AWS. So I had to keep
Okay.
my learning going. So in spite of the certifications, I would not go without a day without going and reading up something, which I think is really essential for people to do. That it's not the end after the certifications.
Hmm.
And I realized it by the hard way as well when I started applying. I saw that I couldn't just apply to a solution architect's job just because I got a certification. Firstly, you need a lot of experience, so
Yeah.
people obviously look at that. And yeah, it's not like a gate pass to success. And
Exactly.
yeah, so I started following a lot of tech evangelists, which I would recommend everybody to do on LinkedIn. I started following their blog posts. I kept on watching the BeSA sessions and even the summary cards and the PDFs that were shared to enhance my knowledge, and I wanted to keep in touch. And one thing I would tell everybody is, you have to make your brand on LinkedIn. You have to show that you
Exactly.
are really keen for the organization that you're pursuing, or for the technology stream that you're pursuing. I mean, it is very important. It is not a Facebook. People are watching what you're doing, so be cognizant of what you're liking, what you're posting, and who you're following. That is really important, which I think really helped me, and that helped me make connections as well. I troubled Ashish a lot even during my solution architect preparation. I would ask him certain questions which I could not understand, and these connections which I made, I think they really helped me. I built some connections who guided me, who mentored me. And the chance that I took was like, when I once I realized that the solution architect thing is not really clicking, I tried to focus what are my growth areas, and I
Mhm.
saw that lot of places people were asking me about my training background. So I thought that why not make use of that strength rather than madly following just trying for solution architect. And I just got some guidance from other people also who I connected with, and they said, why don't you try applying for training. And in fact, while I was applying, there was a AWS training partner who I had interviewed with as well. And at that point of time, I did not know who had taken my interview was a really senior person in the training and certifications team. But once I cleared that, I realized that if I can clear that, maybe I can try applying to AWS as well.
Why
It gave
not?
me that
Confidence.
confidence. Yeah, so I applied. I was like, worst case, they won't accept my application. And yeah, hurrah, they noticed my application. I got through to the interview. And yeah,
That
and then, yeah, yeah, Ashish.
good. So yeah, means interesting story. And then obviously, like being connected to technology, it's not like always that, hey, I want to be solution architect. Sometimes that we feel like, but once we start exploring, we feel, hey, I have strength in some other areas too, and which could be really like a catapult to take me to the next level, and then we can try other things also. So don't restrict that, hey, I want to be only one thing at a time. Maybe you haven't explored that potential which you are good at, and maybe somebody can find out that potential in you and can help you out. So yeah, that's an inspiring story, Parna. Now question comes that you said that you were in J2 AE and you were doing development. What kept you motivated to keep learning AWS? What was the end goal in your mind, or how? Because see, you would say, hey, I can learn J2 EE, or maybe I can perform some coding and it would help me in my day job, which I'm doing. But why you were pushed enough to go for AWS learning? What was that motivation?
So I would say after after so many years, I discovered this is something I really liked, and this was sustainable for me to continue. Because picking up just for getting a job or just for getting something which is trending, it may not be sustainable for me. This was something I really liked. So, frankly, I had never really pursued AWS as in getting into AWS as a company. It was more of the love for cloud computing, which developed over time, and it drew me to keep learning more. And because I wanted to be relevant with the knowledge, I kept on reading up articles. I did a lot of, I think skill builder was like a bible to me.
Hmm.
I kept on doing micro courses in skill builder. I even did some courses in educate. And when I would interact and see how other people were learning, it inspired me, and that's where I picked up tips from other people as well. So lots of people from our community, like Revati, puts up these blogs which I go and read. There was Asna who puts up, then Logeshwaran also. So it's really inspiring to see how other people are also learning. And I realized that there were so many badges which are free, and if you learn
Exactly.
just to validate your knowledge, it's a added bonus, right? You're learning plus you get a badge at the end, which makes you stand
You
out
can,
in LinkedIn.
yeah,
There are
from the crowd.
millions over there. Yeah. So it was a motivation for me to keep trying. It was like I said, uh, if I could apply that knowledge somewhere, that was my end goal. Didn't I was not really pursuing one company. It was just to apply that knowledge, and that kept me
Makes sense.
going actually.
That's good one. Yeah, and people who ask that what is a skill builder? Skill builder is a platform from AWS which is tons of learning available there. Just create an account, get started. Most of them are free, so you could learn a project or maybe complete a track, and then you get a certification badge like I'm a storage expert or I'm a serverless expert. So it's a good showcase of skills, free of cost. You can attend at your own pace digital content, so that would keep you engaged with AWS. And as she mentioned that there are a lot of programs happening, people you would only come to know by networking. You would never come to know in one single place that all these programs are there. So same with me, like sometime I come to know from others that hey, this is a program, are you aware? I'm sure not aware about it. So keep on doing networking, and probably you would have a lot of programs you could be part of and can get started in a much easier step, and people are there to handhold you. So don't feel that you are alone and maybe it's not tough thing or complicated. People are there to help you out. I would add Prasad to the stream, and probably he would have some questions around that, how your journey started, Varna.
So, like, first of all, congratulations. This is such an inspiring journey, and so many
Thank you.
learnings. Like in one journey, we can have all the life lessons, right? So, thank you so much for sharing your journey. Like, someone was asking earlier in the chat, how can one switch from being a tester to becoming a solutions architect, right? So, see, like, if someone can do it after a career break of 12 years, like almost starting from scratch, uh, then you can definitely do it, right? So anyone like who is having doubts that is it possible to become AWS solution architect or start the cloud journey, you have a live example, and she is readily available always. Feel free to like, I know Prana is very helpful in all manners, so feel free to DM her directly and she'll be able to like respond to your queries. One question that I have is that and this happens whenever like you are trying to achieve something tough. Were there any dark days when you felt, man, this is all very tough, I'll not be able to continue? What kept you motivated in those days? Like how you ensured that you're not going to get bogged down by all the difficulties that are around and you're still going to continue?
Of course, I had bad days and I had to take tough decisions. Actually, before AWS, there were two companies where I got the offer. And one of them was a very huge company, and I actually took the tough decision of turning it down because I felt that maybe this is not AWS, and I will the work that I'll be doing will not be in AWS. So I better turn it down. It was really tough because I was not sure whether I'll ever get to work on AWS. And for literally weeks I was like, did I make the right decision? And I was not sure, so that was one tough decision. Then there I faced detractors also who told me that I don't think you will be able to do what you're thinking is a rosy picture, solution architect, that also in AWS. It's really hard work. You need lots of experience. You should just take whatever comes your way. So being a returner, just take anything. And uh, and I did not take anything. I actually stopped myself from taking anything because I thought that, like Ashi said, if you know what you want, you'll wait for it. And I patiently waited. And it was a long wait, but uh, yeah, it was worth it. Sometimes you have to take the risk. It may not have come to me also, you never know that. But they were tough decisions, because at times I thought that, am I going on the right track? Will I ever get there? Or should I be just happy doing what I'm doing and, continue doing that? But yes, I mean, I actually appreciate the people who encourage me. Every time I posted like a badge or something, I saw so many people congratulating me, and that was a real inspiration booster. Plus, I'll tell you that there were a lot of returning women who reached out to me at, how do you do this, how do I do that. Then I thought that yes, I can be a role model for them, and I could probably encourage them also to come on this cloud ride with me. And I felt, no, I need to do it. It was a motivation, to be frank. Seeing so many people wanting you to be there, there were so many people banking on me that you have to make it. So it was a little pressure on me that I'll be letting people down. So those bad days, I tried to, say no, I have to continue, whatever it is. So I kept going.
No, that's awesome. Seriously, really good. And people are commenting that they are one of them who reached out. So yeah, it's really great, right? And I love this about the whole community thing. And you're doing like great in terms of first of all, obviously becoming a role model, and then now helping others, like to get there. So this is awesome. And you already like gave a lot of tips to the users, like networking is really key. Like community helps you actually like go through those dark days. But if there is someone who is starting the journey right now, what is one advice that you would go to that person?
So the first thing I will tell them is, keep attending these webinars, the marketing webinars which keep coming, the cloud practitioner, the technical essentials, and if required, attend it twice. So watch it and see that whether you're interested in it, because I will not say that everybody should do it. I frankly, like when y'all were talking about reinvent, I just remembered, I keep telling everybody, keep attending these summits, these awesome days, the innovate days build. I have attended a whole lot of them, and that's how you realize whether you are really in for it or no, and whether you'll enjoy it or no. So after attending a few times, you realize whether you like it, and only if you like it, then you will be invested in it and you will continue doing that. Otherwise, you will drop it in between, because AWS is huge. I just feel that I know just like a drop in the ocean till now. And so that's the first thing. You first discover that whether you like it or not. And there is a whole lot of these free courses available, like Skill Builder. There is so much over there, the documentation, the white papers, and these summits which happen. There's so much learning happening in every session. So I attended a whole lot of them. So I was trying to be there in most of them, else I watched them on demand. So I think that is going to really help you, because it's not only learning the theory part of the services, where has it been applied. So like I said, I follow a lot of people who post blogs and articles, and then you come to know even about the customers who are actually using AWS and how they have used that particular service. So that is a great thing. So I think that is how your learning grows. I mean, you can do a whole lot of other courses as well. I'm not advising anybody not to do that, but this should happen parallelly, I think.
Yeah,
So that is how you can start building your knowledge. Start from Skill
yeah.
Builder and the webinars.
No, I agree. I like this. Like keep attending these things so that you can find your passion. And once you
Yeah.
find your passion, stick to it. No matter what come in the way, stick to your passion. So yeah, I like it. So great.
That's nice. Yeah, I mean, Skill Builder is a tool like little unknown to people, but there are a lot of tons of activity available there. So search for it. I pasted a link for the free event we run. You could find me also there delivering some of the sessions. So I regularly contribute to that. And you would find that there are people around the world who are waking up in the night taking this session, and it is free. Why not? Means you are just making investment on time, and there is nothing to lose. If you don't like it, at least you would know what you don't like. Simple. So don't shy away from it. Attend as much as you can. Thanks for that. Now, Parna, I have one more question on the next phase about the interview part. How you applied, what was the way you were interviewed, and how you were selected, how you prepared. So, walk us through that journey about how you started your preparation and who referred you, how it ended up into you being selected. What was the whole path? Obviously, don't reveal any internal information, but yeah, anything which can help us as a community, please let us know.
Sure. So, like I mentioned, that there were a couple of offers of training that I got, and I even got a training offer for restart cohorts which run throughout the country. And so once I got those offers, and like I said, I even got selected as a partner trainer in a through an interview process. Uh, I thought, let me make a giant leap. Why don't I try for the actual trainer job at AWS? And the person who spoke to me about the restart trainer thing, I said, hey, could you refer me for the training role? And he was like, why not? You can try. I mean, what's wrong in trying? You can try, and if you get selected, so I mean, at max, what I won't get picked up. So I did apply, and it was quite quick actually. So he referred me, and I got my luckily my resume got selected, and then I had my phone screening round. So that's when I contacted Ashish, because I was like, who can help me the most? He's the god of training. So, so, so,
Oh, that's kind
so
of you, Prana.
so I was not sure actually for the phone interview what it will be like, because everywhere they said that the phone interviews a role fitment kind of a thing. And Ashish gave me some tips of what kind of LPs they would probably be focusing on. And actually was not sure whether it's going to be a behavioral or a technical round, but somehow my gut feel said that I really had to do my technical work at the background and go. And I'm so glad I did that, because my phone screening round was very purely technical. And I must say, I went and went through all the sessions of Ashish in the BeSA, plus the summary card, just to revise all those concepts. Apart from the AWS documentation, I'm glad I went for the phone round also for this, because the person who took my interview also mentioned that I'm so glad that you came so prepared technically for even a phone screen round. So that really helped me. So that was one thing. So I would say, everybody, please, the ones who get selected, don't take things for granted that it's going to be
Exactly.
behavioral. Prepare yourself and go for that. Next was, I had actually 7 rounds in total. So the phone screen. Then my next round was a business case presentation, where I had to actually have a pretend mock customer, which was a panel of interviewers. Actually, I had 3, and I had to make a presentation about their business case, which was given to me, and present it like a real customer, whatever their use case was given. There too, I needed tips. So obviously, my delivery style had to be assessed. Plus, my technical capability, I could not speak wrong information. And they were actually pretending to be real customers and asking me question. I took help of Ashish also, and he gave me some tips of how to go about the presentation. It was almost 2 or 3 hours long. And there too, I am lucky that I did a lot of preparation technically. So it was not only just going through a presentation. They went really in depth. And like in AWS, there is a LP called as deep dive. And every time I presented, in fact, I did not even complete my presentation. So the interviewers were more interested about certain services, and they went really deep dive into them. And I will admit that there were 50% of the questions I did not know the answer to. And I did admit that I did not know the answer, and they were okay with it. One thing was great, where they told me, you can come back to us after you find out the answer. And I very proactively did that, and I would suggest that to others also. What I did was, after my round, I had written down every question that I could not answer. While they were asking me also, I took a moment and asked them whether I could write it down. And immediately on that day, uh, by the end of the day, I found out the answers, and I sent it back. I'm not sure whether the interviewers actually got to see my answers, but I just felt that I should do that. So that is something that I did a little proactively, that I wrote down the questions, whatever I could remember, and sent back the answers. And that was my biggest round, I'll say, for my technical and role fitment assessment. And then came the daunting loops. So for loop, there are n number of places I referred to. Obviously, again, BeSA sessions, I went back and referred to Prasad and Jamila's sessions about the star format. I referred to some YouTube videos by there's somebody called Gigi and Holly Hunt. I went through those to get an idea of the questions. So I was aware of the star format, but I wanted to know what kind of questions I'll encounter. So I watched a lot of those, and what I did was I created a spreadsheet, and for every LP, I tried to think of at least two scenarios in my past where I would have demonstrated it. Yeah, and another extra step that I took was through one of the mentors I had connected with. There were few LPs which I was not clear about. So it was better that I get clarity about what the LP really means. I think everybody should do that, because sometimes just looking at the LP, we assume it means something, but it means something else. So
Exactly.
I got clarity about two or three LPs which I thought otherwise. Like there is disagree and commit. Then there was simplify and innovate. There was, and I think there were two, three others which I was not very clear about. So I got it clarified first before I go and find out my examples. And I made this huge worksheet where I wrote the LPs. I wrote two, three scenarios, and I went over them daily. There was an exercise which I did in between the loop also. So every time my one loop interview got over, I went and cancelled out the scenarios that I had already spoken about. And then I thought, because I did not have a whole lot of experience, some of you have a lot of experience, so you can speak about a lot of things. I had very limited, being a restarter, so I had to customize or recycle those ideas to fit in some certain LPs as well. So after every loop interview, I went and cancelled those and tried to fit in the existing ones into the others. And yes, data centric, AWS is so data centric. I was very really grilled in every question that I was asked about the results part. And I actually had to, you have to tactfully think about numbers. I mean, not every scenario will have something data centric, but you have to think of ways to bring that out. So yeah, those were the things I did for my star format. uh, every loop, I was not sure, you don't really get a feedback, so you don't know how you perform. But you just need to give your best irrespective of how it went. And the performance has to be consistent, I guess, for every loop. You
Exactly.
can't get tired. I think I remember my last loop extended because it got delayed over like weeks, and you sometimes give up that it's not getting over. But I knew that I had to still perform the best, because you don't know, that could be your the bar raiser, right? Who has the veto in the interview process. So that was the time when I was giving up also. I was like, I can't do this. I keep learning it and it's not coming, the date is not coming. But yeah, so that finally, I think it was 3 long months. The whole thing
Wow.
stretched due to various reasons, due to non-availability of the panelists as well. Yeah, but sweet fruit at the end. The wait was long.
Exactly.
Yeah, and yeah, so I joined about 3 weeks ago. This was my third week at AWS, and I'm hoping to prove myself further, and
You would.
make
You
sure.
would.
Yeah, sorry, I'm
It's,
taking
no,
everybody's
no, it's okay.
time
It's
a lot.
completely overwhelming story, to be honest. Like, we don't hear these type of stories. People willing to share that. That is another important aspect, because hey, you learn something from community. Why not give it back? If one tip you share could help someone, why not? So it's really interesting. I'm inspired, Parna, and it was good to connect with you in all this process. So how you feeling now? Like, once you are in the system, pinging me on the chime system or pinging me on the Slack, how it is. How is your journey so far in 3 weeks?
It's surreal, But I would say that be prepared. This is a very competitive organization, and there are extremely smart people in here. And you, the fact that they have taken you through those LPs is for a very reason, because it's applied
Exactly.
day in and day out. So it's not over. It's not that I've gotten and now I can relax. I need to make sure that I'm applying it every day. And yeah, so lots to learn. Very big organization. I'm looking forward to grow with everyone together.
Nice,
Yeah,
good.
first 3 months actually, like it takes time to get adjusted to the culture and
Yeah.
the steep learning curve that we need to have. But then it settles down. Believe me, like even I was very much confused. Man, have I done the right choice of coming to AWS? First 3 months was chaotic for me. But then it settled down. It settled down. But yeah,
Nice.
listening to your story of the whole loop, there are, again, so many learnings from it, and starts from the very beginning, right? The referral that you got, like
Right.
everyone who is attending this or will be listening this over the YouTube, see, think how Prana was able to do the networking by not only on LinkedIn but trying to attend every webinar, every program that is there, and connecting with people. And once people know you personally in one way or the other, they'll be very happy to refer you. And once you do the referral, it's like they will be able to follow up also internally with the hiring manager.
Yeah.
Hey, I referred this person, is there any specific reason this particular person was shortlisted or not shortlisted? There is no 100% guarantee that it will be shortlisted, but the chances become really high, and we'll be able to get the reason. Like if it is not, then what kind of role that we should be next referring the person to, right? So in that ways, and then like as Prana mentioned during the technical interview, she did great, but for the questions she did not was not able to answer, she earned the trust by saying no. And then she showed learn and be curious by responding to those responses within the same day. Okay, it doesn't matter that whether or not the interview was checked for the accuracy of the what email Prana sent back, but the fact that she did itself shows the eagerness that she has, right? So it all shows the LPs. And yes, the process is long, it's 3 months. Do not underestimate the amount of preparation needed to crack any of AWS, or for that matter Google, Microsoft, any other these big companies. Do not underestimate the amount of preparation that is needed. It's a long process, so be prepared mentally for that. It happens. My interview process took 4 months, and now at least they actually do it on multiple days. Good enough. Yeah, it's like the loop round happened over gap of few days, weeks. Pranay, I believe it has been on multiple days for you, right?
Yes, so I think my loop happened. It would have got over probably in 2.5 weeks, but because they were not available, it happens that the panelists are busy. So it extended to about 4 weeks, I think. Though it could have
Mhm.
happened in 2.5 weeks, it
So
extended to 4 weeks. In
Wow.
fact, Prasad, you spoke about referrals. I had got referrals even for the solution architect, few of the roles. I never got selected for those. So so that's where I realized, like, why am I going on hitting my head against the door against something which I may not be prepared for. So, guys, it's not that I didn't get rejected. I have applied for solution architect, associate cloud architect roles also in AWS, which I did not get selected for in spite of in few of them I were even referrals, but I still did not get selected. So it's not that referral will definitely get you in. They will obviously look at your background as well, but definitely it takes you one step closer. uh, yeah, and yeah, networking is important because not everybody would be keen to refer a person without knowing them
Exactly.
completely, right? So
yeah.
uh,
Yeah, so that's a good point, Parna, and I agree. Loop interviews, like now it is being spread out. I remember mine happened on one day, and at the end I was so exhausted. Hey, I don't want another interview. I don't want to apply. I was exhausted mentally because not it was not like straightforward yes no questions. It was always complicated question, and they were evaluating you on what you answer. Answer formed another question, so it is daunting. I would say I was glad that it finished in one day, so I could finish everything and then move forward. Like for you, it was 2 3 weeks, so you were always into that constant pressure that hey, what is coming up next? What is coming up next? So hats off to Parna. It was a great thing. Thank you so much for sharing that, and probably thanks for your efforts to be here on time. I know it is late in India and people are still watching here and waiting with us. So thank you so much. And probably if you could like put some links into the BeSA group, like what resources helped you or what channels helped you. So it would obviously help other people also. So the group we are trying to create here is that not only we should be doing information sharing, we want it to be interactive so that more people can share information and can, hey, I want found something workshop very interesting. This is a new event happening. I'm going there. Will you be there? Feel free to share that information. So don't put like marketing information, but anything which could help someone technically, feel free to do that so that everyone will get benefited in the long run. So that's the intention of this group, and we are glad to have you here, Parna. Thank you for sharing experience. This video would be posted on YouTube in a week's time. Till that, it is available on Twitch in case somebody missed it or maybe have not watched it. But yeah, in a week's time, it would be available on YouTube. And next week, we would also have one more success story. Same person like who was participant of BeSA, and then they are now hired in London. So they moved to London 2 months back, and all the same story like struggle, complications, and lot of things. So we are so glad to see lot of success story coming out of BeSA. So that puts our efforts on the path, and we know that at least we are doing something good there. So thank you, everyone, and thanks for sharing your journey. And hope to see you in some other session. Thank you, Parna. Thank you.
Thank you
Bye.
so much, Ashish. Thank you so much, Ashish.
Bye.
Thank
Bye.
you all.
Bye.
Thank you, Pranav.
Thanks, everyone.
Cheers. Bye.